A little bit closer to us here on the same side, that is a bongo, that orangey colored antelope. I think we might see a couple more. Keep your eyes out here. Both the male and female bongos have those long spirally horns. They use them to dig around in the dirt and pull up bulbs and roots to eat. Their horns are swept back and sometimes crisscrossed at the ends. That prevents them from getting tangled in the trees while they're running around. Up on the side of the hill to the right, there's a big black and white bird up there. She's a little bit hard to see between the bushes. That is a saddle-billed stork. They get their name from that saddle shape on the top of their beak, and their wingspan can reach about 8 feet. That's as wide as the canopy above your heads. Keep an eye out for more antelope here. They're good at hiding between the bushes. There's definitely some more bongos up there. Probably a little bit better view. You can actually see that the male has a much darker face and chest area. He's right in the middle there. They've got those delicate vertical stripes on their backs as well. That's how they camouflage so well through the trees. Oh, and the other species of antelope that I was hoping we were going to see is way past the bushes up there. Might get just a glimpse. Those are greater kudu. They're the tallest antelope here in the forest. They also have those vertical stripes on their backs that help them camouflage, so they're a little bit hard to see, even just through those couple of bushes. Now we're heading into the Safi River Valley. Animals here spend most of their time in and around the water. There are some big gray birds down here to the right-hand side. These are pink-backed pelicans. They get their name from the color of their skin turns during mating season, and they can nest in colonies of up to 500 pairs. There's a couple of other bird species out there, those kind of fluffy white ones with the really long necks. Those are snowy egret. There's also some turkey vultures. Those are both Florida native species, but they're very similar to species that live in Africa as well. There are cattle egret that hang out on the banks of rivers like this because they like to pick bugs off of the big animals, off of hippos and rhinos and even cattle. And these vultures are found pretty much everywhere. They're really good at helping us keep... Ooh, there's a hippo down there. You guys see to the left-hand side? Hippos are some of the largest and most dangerous animals in all of Africa. Their enormous mouths are home to 18-inch incisor teeth. Oh, I think we might see at least one more up here. A little bit hard to see past the barrier. She's moving in the water there. They can swim, but they'd much prefer to just sink down to the bottom and walk across the riverbed. They can hold their breath for 8 minutes at a time. Now they use those enormous teeth that they have to defend themselves from predators like these Nile crocodile. Crocodile are the largest of the crocodilians. They can get 16 feet long and weigh 500 pounds. Their jaws are strong enough to crush bone, which means they'll eat just about anything they get their mouths on. They can eat up to 250 pounds of meat in a day. That's about half of their body weight. This enormous tree over to the right-hand side is a baobab tree. They stay leafless for about 9 months out of the year. They can hold thousands of gallons of water that the animals on the savanna will tap into and drink from. That's how they get their nickname, the Tree of Life. Down onto the savanna now, which has the highest population of animals here on the reserve, so I'm sure we're going to get some really good views. I definitely see a few giraffes over to our right-hand side underneath the acacia trees here. Giraffes are the tallest land animal. They grow up to 20 feet tall. The giraffes here on the reserve are Maasai giraffes. We can tell because of the rough lacy edges to the spots on their coat pattern. Like their cousins, the okapi, they have those long prehensile tongues. Their tongues can get up to 18 inches long and are a dark purple color to prevent them from getting sunburned while they eat for 20 hours a day. den coming up on the left-hand side here belongs to some African painted dogs. The painted dog is a canine, distantly related to your canine friends at home. The Hens and Pecks, led by an alpha male and female pair, are actually the most successful hunters on the savannah, with about a 90% success rate. That's thanks to being endurance hunters, which means they just keep chasing their prey until it's too tired to run. Staying to the left-hand side, there are some animals way back by the tree line, kind of a chocolatey color. Hard to see between the bushes. Those are sable antelope. And much easier to see, there's a bunch of wildebeest. Now, wildebeest can gather in herds of up to 1 million individuals. They'll travel thousands of miles a year across the savannah to keep up with fresh vegetation. Actually, the second most densely populated mammal after humans. These large earthen structures on either side of us now are termite mounds. They're made out of saliva, dirt, and dung, and when they dry, they can get as hard as concrete. Here's one of the smallest giraffes out here on the reserve. And once these termite mounds dry, other animals will use them as scratching posts and lookouts. If you were to cut one of those termite mounds open, you'd see lots of different rooms and tunnels inside, kind of like an anthill. Some of those rooms are even dedicated to growing molds and funguses to feed the colony. A few more giraffes as we come around this next turn here, and if you look at the top of their heads, you'll see they have these horn-like structures. Those are called ossicones. Now, they're not true horns. They're born, they're made of cartilage, and they harden into bone as they grow up, so they're really just part of their skull. And they're covered in skin and fur. Nice and close to us here on the right-hand side, there are some Hartman's mountain zebra. Mountain zebra has a dewlap, that's a flap of skin underneath their neck. Helps them regulate their temperature. No other species of zebra has that dewlap. They also have much smaller, pointier hooves, which allows them to navigate the rocky terrain they call home. One more zebra here on the right-hand side, and then if you look up between the ring of palm trees up there, you might see some incredibly long horns sticking up. Those belong to the Ankole cattle. The Ankole cattle is a domestic species. They were domesticated about 6,000 years ago by the Watusi tribe. While those horns look big and heavy, they only weigh about 3 to 15 pounds. That's thanks to a unique honeycomb structure inside that keeps them nice and light. A few more wildebeest here on the left-hand side. And I am starting to see some downed trees up ahead, which may mean we're headed into elephant territory. Now, elephants are sometimes hard to track down. They're pretty elusive despite their size, but let's see if we can find some for you guys today. Well, it looks like we might get lucky right away up ahead here. The African elephant is the largest land animal. Fully grown adult males like this guy here can reach 13,000 pounds. We can tell this is an African elephant because his ears are shaped a little bit like the continent of Africa. He'll flap those ears on a hot day to cool himself by up to 15 degrees. Let's get you guys a little bit closer. Trunk on the front of an elephant's face has 100,000 muscles in it. For comparison, the human body only has about 600 muscles total. All those extra muscles allow that trunk to be strong enough to knock over a tree, but still delicate enough to pick up a single penny. We're coming into some red clay pits now. Elephants will scratch their tusks along the edges of these pits to get some extra minerals. Also throw that clay up on their back along with sand and water to protect their sensitive skin from the sun. And there are some pretty fresh tusk marks over here to the right hand side. Now that may be from the elephant we just saw, but hopefully it means there are more in the area. I know that elephants are some of everybody's favorite animals here on the reserve, and we do want to protect the ones that we love. We can protect elephants by recycling our electronics. Small electronics like cell phones contain a mineral called coltan that is mined in elephant territory. This causes them to encroach in on human areas. By recycling our old cell phones when we're all done with them, we can prevent more coltan mining and keep those elephants out in their habitats where they belong. That keeps everybody just a little bit safer and happier. Elephants travel in matriarchal herds, led by a dominant female and made up of related females, mothers, daughters, sisters, and cousins. Adult males will either travel alone or in bachelor groups. Now this one right out in the middle here that's significantly smaller, she's the youngest that lives in this herd. She's about 6 years old. So got quite a bit of growing to do, but not quite a baby anymore. She's standing right next to Mom, who's the matriarch. Now the reason they take so long to grow up, kind of like humans do, is because they can live about 80 years. Nice and close to us here on the left-hand side, there's a flamboyance of greater flamingo. They're the largest and lightest pink of all species of flamingo. They get their color from the beta-carotene in their diet. They're actually born fluffy and gray. Takes them about 1.5 years to get that full pink color like their parents have. These guys are filter feeders, which means they have these really cool structures on the inside of their beaks that help them filter all of that yummy brine shrimp out of the water. And if you look closely, you'll see some of them have a little bit of gray left on the back of their necks. They were born last spring, so they're about to turn 1 year old. We've got a pretty special sight here as we make this next turn. To our left-hand side, a crash of white rhinoceros. White rhinos are the largest and most social species of rhinoceros. They live in groups called a crash because they can't see very well, only about 10 feet ahead of them. So when they're running around, they do tend to crash into things. They make up for it with some pretty excellent hearing, though. You can see their ears are on swivels, kind of like a horse has. And that smaller one in the middle is about 2.5 years old. He's actually the oldest of 3 babies that live in this crash, so we might get lucky and see the littler ones up ahead here. Those horns they have are made of keratin. That's the same stuff as your hair and fingernails are made of. Just like your hair and fingernails, they grow for their entire lives. So they keep them trimmed on things like rocks and trees. Look straight up to the right-hand side through the trees there. One of the babies is laying facing us for that little clearing. And Mom is laying just on the other side. This is the older of the 2 babies, I believe. I'm telling you that just based on Mom's horns rather than the baby, because they're so close in size. The name white rhinoceros is actually a mistranslation of the Afrikaans word vite, meaning wide, for their wide and boxy snouts they use to forage on the ground. This rock formation up ahead here is called a kopie. Predators will hang out on the kopie's the top as a lookout, and underneath is a nice, shady resting area. Sometimes a kopie is the only source of shelter for miles around out on the savannah. And here's that other baby rhino. Much easier to see up here. Only about 1.5 years old. Extra cute. And a little bit farther out down this path, there is a deer-like antelope out there. That is a water buck. Water buck are named because they drink an unusually large amount of water for an antelope. They've got that nice long greasy fur that keeps them waterproof. the left-hand side here, there are some burrows. These were dug out by warthogs. Warthogs use their tusks to dig them out and then they'll back into them, so those tusks are facing outward for protection. When they're all done with the burrows, they will move on and dig more, and other animals will move into those abandoned burrows. So we like to call warthogs ecosystem engineers. They're really important for the environment. Back over to the right-hand side, a couple of ostriches, as well as a little bit better look at that water buck. Ostriches are the largest bird. They can't fly, but they can run 43 miles an hour. Their legs are built for speed. They're actually the only living bird with just 2 toes, believe it or not. 2 more of those water buck here. On the right hand side, you can see they have white markings on their face and on their back sides as well. That helps them find each other at night. And it looks like a clutch of ostrich eggs down this little path. Ostriches do lay the largest eggs, weighing in about 3 pounds each. They're strong enough for a human to stand on them without breaking. Our next stop is Magadi Glen. This is where the Warden's Outpost is. Recently, the Warden has taken to caring for a small herd of Nigerian dwarf goats. They're becoming popular locally as livestock because they are small, easy to care for, and provide a lot of nutritious dairy for their size. That makes them a great alternative to larger livestock like cattle, which take up a lot of space and can actually be very bad for the environment. These guys are also friendly and docile, making them excellent companions. They're just one way that humans and animals are learning to live together. Now, unfortunately, it does look like our safari is coming to an end as we reach the outskirts of the village. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out with me today. Again, my name has been Becca from Massachusetts. If we've got any wilderness explorers on board, you've been riding on the Simba 1. That's S-I-M-B-A and the number 1. If you guys are looking for other animal encounters, Gorilla Falls is a walking trail just outside the exit to this attraction. They've got views of gorillas, underwater hippo viewing, naked mole rats, meerkats, zebras, okapi, things like that. There's also another trail over in Asia, Maharaja Jungle Trek, with tigers, flying foxes, Komodo dragons, and water buffalo. Both of those trails close at, I believe, 6:30 this evening, and us here at the safaris we close at 7. That's earlier than the rest of the park, so just keep that in mind when you are planning out your evening hours. And while we are making our way back over to the dock here, check your seats, make sure nothing fell out of your pockets, purses, bags, anything like that, because it is an awful long walk back to Africa to retrieve anything that gets left behind.